Have you ever found yourself kind of fixated on the very first number someone mentions, even if you feel like deep down it's probably not right?
Oh, absolutely. That's often anchoring bias right there.
Right. It's like a mental shortcut, isn't it? Where that initial info just, well, anchors our later thoughts.
Exactly. It grabs hold. And today we're going to, dig into what that really means, drawing on some fascinating psychological research.
Yeah. How does that first piece of data stick so hard and like steer our thinking sometimes completely off course?
Well, fundamentally, our brain sort of latches onto that first value, that anchor, and then doesn't really adjust far enough away from it. It's almost like being mentally tethered.
Okay, so that first number, or maybe the first fact, becomes the reference point, and we just adjust from there, even if the starting point is like totally random.
Precisely. Some of the classic experiments show this really clearly. Researchers would get people to look at a number from, say, a spinning wheel they'd secretly fixed.
Okay, a random number,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, seemingly random. Then they'd ask a totally unrelated question like, what percentage of African countries are in the UN?
Yeah.
And incredibly, people who saw a higher number on that wheel gave significantly higher estimates for the UN question. The random number just pulled their judgment. It acted as this powerful, unconscious anchor.
Wow. Okay, that's kind of wild. And you see this play out, I guess, massively in pricing and marketing.
Oh, definitely. Think about those price tags you see. It was $100, now $60. That $100, that's the anchor.
Right. Even if $60 is still maybe a bit high, it feels like a steal compared to the first number.
Exactly. That initial, often inflated price just anchors your perception of value. Marketing uses this constantly. It's a really core tactic.
But it's not just about shopping or money, is it? Like,
Yeah.
what about when we meet someone? First impressions. Does anchoring happen there too?
It absolutely does. That first piece of information, maybe something you hear about them, or just that initial gut feeling can really anchor your overall judgment.
So, like, a bad first meeting makes it harder to see their good points later.
Yes. Or a really great first impression might make you overlook some red flags down the line. That initial anchor is just really sticky.
Okay, so if this bias is so strong, what about experts? Are they immune? People who negotiate for a living, maybe? Surely they know better.
Well, that's what's so interesting. Research suggests that actually, even seasoned experts can fall prey to anchoring.
Really? Even the pros?
Yep. Maybe they can lessen the effect a bit with training, but that first offer thrown out in a negotiation, it still acts as a surprisingly powerful anchor, even for experienced negotiators. It's just very pervasive.
That is fascinating. Okay, so if we know this is a thing, how can we, fight back? What can you do to try and reduce its effect, especially in important situations?
That's the key question, isn't it? One big strategy is to consciously try to generate your own estimate or opinion before you see someone else's number or anchor.
Like do your own homework first.
Exactly. And seek out different perspectives, multiple data points. In a negotiation, really focus hard on your goals and limits before you even hear their first offer. And just asking yourself, why that number? Is it reasonable? That can help break the spell a bit.
Can you give us a few quick examples? Where else does this pop up besides like shopping or negotiating?
Sure. Think about politics. The way an issue is first framed, the first statistic you hear, that can totally anchor public opinion.
Okay.
Or in medicine, an initial diagnosis, even if it's just preliminary, can sometimes bias how doctors interpret later tests.
I can see that.
And even in, say, education, a teacher's first impression of a student, that might unconsciously anchor their expectations for that student all year.
It's kind of unsettling, isn't it? How easily our thinking can be pushed around by these initial bits of info.
It really is. It just shows how our brains are trying to be efficient, take shortcuts.
Yeah.
But sometimes that efficiency leads us astray. Being aware is really the crucial first step.
So for you listening, what's the main thing to remember? Why keep anchoring bias in mind?
I think the big picture here is that understanding this just empowers you. It helps you make more considered choices, whether you're looking at a price tag, forming an opinion about someone, or weighing different options. If you recognize that first piece of info might be pulling you, you can consciously try to adjust.
Right. Step back and evaluate more objectively.
Exactly.
Okay, so wrapping up here. The key takeaway seems to be that anchoring bias is this powerful, often invisible force. That first number, that first impression, it acts like a real anchor, pulling our thoughts towards it.
Perfectly put. So maybe a final thought for you to reflect on. Think about the last big decision you had to make. What was the very first piece of information you encountered about it? And looking back, how might that initial anchor have shaped, even subtly, the final choice you landed on? It's definitely something worth considering in your own life.